Hey everyone, Internet Pieces book reader here. Today I want to talk about The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. Master and Margarita is written in 1927. It is considered to be one of the greatest satire ever written during the Soviet era. If 1984 by George Orwell is considered to be one of the best dystopian, this book can be considered dead for satire. The book has a lot of Christianity theme, but it's not like it's a story written so only Christian can enjoy them. I'm an agnostic, but I really had fun reading it. The story itself is separated into two parts. First, we are introduced to a few of the cast of characters. An editor, a poem, and a professor of black magic walks into a cafe. And they're already very interesting and memorable characters. The editor, Michael Alexandrovich Berlioz, who has commissioned an anti-religious poem, and the poet, Ivan Nikolaevich, is trying to write it for Berlioz. And when the two of them are having a conversation about their work, the professor just burst into their seat and started an argument with them, but somehow the professor is the one that seems to be winning. We don't know who the professor is, but everyone account on what he looks like are different from everyone else. Some say he's limping, some say he's not, some say he have a golden teeth, some say he have a diamond teeth, but what we do know for sure is that he's a professor and he's a self-admitted practitioner of black magic. And at the end of their conversation, he tells both the editor and the poet a story. The scene then moved to Pontius Pilatus talking to a criminal in his cell that he's about to execute named Yeshua Hanosri. Apparently he incited violence in the city of Jerusalem and insulted the sovereign at that time, Tiberius Caesar. And because of that, he is to be hanged with the other criminals. This is what Yeshua said in the book. I said that every kind of power is a form of violence against people, and that there will come a time when neither the power of the Caesars nor any other kind of power will exist. Man will enter the kingdom of truth and justice, where no such power will be necessary. If it is not obvious enough, it is definitely a retelling of the trial of Jesus before his death, even with all the added detail. Pilatus is having a headache and he's an antisocial whose only friend is his dog. Jesus did not enter the city on a donkey, he just walked into it like everybody else. And Judas is apparently just a stranger that reported him for being mean to Caesar. The scene then moved back to the editor, the poet, and the professor. The professor said to the editor that he is in no need of a hurry because sunflower oil will cancel his meeting and that a woman will cut off his head. Seemingly realizing that the stranger is a madman, the editor makes excuses to go call the police, but on his way he slipped on a spilled cooking oil, sunflower oil, then got hit by a car that cut off his head. Ivan, the poet who knew about what the professor said about the oil and the head cutting off, of course got suspicious at the stranger and the professor. But the professor at this point are already running away. Ivan chases after him. The story that follows is a series of bizarre events that happens because the poet are chasing after the mysterious stranger and because he is trying to convince people that this stranger is indeed the murderer of Berlioz the editor. He ran after a black cat that walks in two legs and paid for his bus fare. He swam in the river and because of the cold weather had to take off all his clothes, so he ran around in his underwear. He got chased by the police of course for running around mostly naked, so he climbed a fence and injured himself. He went to a famous literature club where he belonged and became violent because people don't believe his story. He was then sent into an asylum for mad people because he keeps screaming that this stranger that no one but him and the dead editor saw is the murderer of the editor, and also that the stranger has spoken to Pontius Pilatus from 0 BC and can do black magic. And while Ivan is trying to prove to everyone that he's not crazy and that the professor who knew Pontius Pilatus is a murderer, the professor is also busy causing so many other disasters in the city. And that is basically how we spend the first part, seeing how much Wolan the professor is causing havoc in Moscow. We see some of his colleagues and we also see a lot of people sent into the asylum where the poet is being held, where the master character from Master and Margarita spent his days. As the reader, we of course knew that Ivan is telling the truth and that all of the bizarre thing he's saying is true. But for the people around here, he's someone that looks disheveled from injury and running around in his underwear saying all this crazy shit. So the doctor that diagnosed him of course went schizophrenia as we predicted. It's so funny and at the same time it also opens up so much question. Who is the professor of dark magic? What in the hell is going on with the black cat? How is the cat drinking vodka with a glass and eating fish with a fork? And in the second part, things got even more strange and even magical, I say. We spent most of it with Margarita from Master and Margarita. The Master is the author of the Pontius Pilate story that Wolan told at the start of the book. The Master was writing it while having an affair with a married woman, Margarita Nicolaviana. They are both stuck in a loveless marriage when they meet each other. Unable to finish his story, he falls into a deep depression and left Margarita in his life. Until one day, Margarita was contacted by Wolan's associate Azazello to make an agreement with him. She was turned into a witch who flies on a broom and joins Satan's party as a queen in order to be reunited with the Master. A lot of the satirical aspect is making fun of Soviet and also atheists in Soviet, but his writing is not on the nose, it doesn't make you feel bad, so it doesn't affect the story in a bad way even if you're an agnostic like me. While the story itself is simple, but it is told in such a charming and rich with imagination story. The devil comes into a city and fulfill everyone's wishes and even making a stage show out of it. But every wish he fulfilled turns the city into more and more of a mess. It doesn't help that nobody believes that he's the devil, so witnesses just fill a room in the asylum. I think it's mostly because his appearance has no real indication that he's the devil, since he's written for the most part as just a dude with superpower. He either has casualty manipulation that affected cause and effect to kill the editor, or he knows someone's future and might be both. He can transform and change his look, he can teleport people and send them far away, he can manipulate objects and change their form, etc. Besides Wolan, which most likely is the devil, there's Azazello, Korofiev, and Hela, and although it's very clear that they all have a different moral standard as everyone else, they are not really a depiction of evil. They're more like a charming band of misfits. And just like any good band of misfits, they all have a chemistry that makes their group more charming than usual. Especially Azazello, which is a play on the demon named Azazel, Behemoth the talking cat, everybody's favorite character I guess, which is named after the biblical monster Behemoth, and Korofiev the Dark Knight. Hela unfortunately is more often only a fan service that wear a Russian version of Naked Apron. She's a vampire. They all have some kind of banter with each other, with Behemoth mostly always being sarcastic and untrustworthy, and it's very fun to read. The book initial release was apparently highly censored, not because there are elements that might be considered blasphemous to Soviet religion at the time, considering the book don't really show the devil as a clear villain, but it's because there are small references of housing crisis in the book, and because of nudity. Hela, Margarita, and Natasha spend most of their time on screen naked. Well, part of it might be for fan service, but it's also a depiction of women being sensual. In the uncensored version, not only there's no sex scene in the book, but the book is also very clear that you don't have to be a pig or be hateful when seeing a woman being sensual. In arguably the best scene in the book, Margarita uses a cream to become a witch. Her maid later on will also use it for herself and another character, who is basically 1920s version of Nice Guy TM. Yeah, evolution hasn't wiped them out yet. Since the cream only gives you the form you deserve or show your inner side as your outer form, Margarita and her maid become a witch that is free, but the nice guy become a pig. It's kinda wild imagining this book without that scene. The uncensored edition apparently only came out because of a stage play requested them, and it has since become more and more popular. It has been adapted not just to a stage play, but lots of animation and film. I think there are still more movies coming for this book. There are even statues of the character of the book. The book might not be for everyone. It went to weird places, and the first part and some small section of the second part went on for a bit too long. But if you like a story that is so rich of imagination like Howl's Moving Castle, I highly recommend this book. It was so much fun to read. I give this a 4.25. What do you think? Are you gonna read it? Did I miss anything? Leave your thoughts in the comment below and subscribe to the channel. That's about it.